Okay, new video. I haven't done one of these in a while because I've kind of been bored and haven't had time. I've been away, but I should be back. And this is World Cup nations versus non-World Cup nations. Yeah. Okay, let's just get started. So there's a few things. The red team wants to. So the red team's strategy is to hopefully establish some connection here, cutting off these Balkan countries, which is actually just Serbia and Croatia, and hopefully take them over, and then hold a defensive in Europe, and in Africa and Asia. They want to be able to take out Iran, the Muslim countries. In the Americas, they kind of realize they're screwed, so all American forces are actually ordered to just retreat. At least North American forces, there's no chance these forces could do anything. There's mountains in Chile, but I don't care. Same with these. However, Colombian and Venezuelan troops are ordered to stay. By the way, this is controlled by the blue team. Okay, that's better. And French Guiana Falls as well. So yeah, the blue team does really well there. However, in Africa, there's no use against the much more powerful red team, who quickly wipes out all of the countries in West Africa. While also managing. However, Tunisia is cut off, so it also falls. However, Morocco is not cut off from Europe, therefore it is able to last. While American troops are still occupied, the red team takes advantage of this by quickly landing in Australia and taking the country. They send a bunch of troops to New Zealand and just land here and then take the country from there. It's much easier than from here. Yeah. People live here. So, and these blue Muslim countries, they are told to hold off, as the longer they could hold off, the easier it would be for Europe to stay blue team controlled. Talking about Europe being blue team controlled, all of this falls to the blue team. I think it's pretty inevitable. Surrounded. So does, by the way, Luxembourg and Andorra both fall to the blue team. There's not really much they could do. This map isn't detailed enough. Yeah, fun. So the red team, using mainly Italian forces, and begins a push. They take Croatia, and forces from the east then take Serbia, leading for basically all of the European forces to be along this border. And because that's a narrow border, they decide to hold a defensive there. American troops, however, managed to finally take out Colombia and Venezuela, and now they're starting to be shipped over to Europe in droves. Red team forces take over much of Iran, causing the country to fall. This was after a long amount of fighting, mainly Pakistani and Middle Eastern forces. And with Iran gone, Saudi Arabia also does not stand a chance. And won't you look at that? We have the West versus the East. Fun. But it's the West plus, it's the Americas plus the core of Europe plus that. Talking about that, South Korea falls. China and North Korea have been spending their entire time focused on this. However, Japan and American forces are unable to save the island like they were during the Korean War. Meaning, however, Japan, while the northern island falls, and so do Kurils. The mainland Japan, the island of Honshu, is still untouched. Yeah. The Hokkaido Island is under. Okay, there you go. Let's get started. So, that was just a bit of cleanup stuff. Now we have the real war starting, and that is, there's an Asian war, which is like all of this area. No, everything like all of this area versus Japan, and then there's like all of this area versus Europe and the Americas. So what the goal is for all of this area to take over Japan and then be able to focus on all of this area. Thing with that is Japan's an island, so American naval ships are already in Japan and their navy is not giving up, which leads to some very hard naval battles. In the meantime, Blue Team forces land in Scandinavia and take the rest of the peninsula, as well as push into Finland. And just like that, they now have gained a bunch of land. They also started pushing to Central Europe, take it over, and even into the Balkans, as now they're fully militarized. And they push into Greece. And take over Italy. Is that realistic? No. Do I care? No. On the topic of Japan, a landing is finally made. Not on the main island, but on the southernmost island and the eastern island, leaving only the main island of Japan left under Blue Team control. This is not good, as now East Asian forces are starting to be distracted. The Blue Team realizes they have to do something about this, and they realize they should probably strengthen their hold on Africa, so they take this over, and Algeria doesn't surrender, and they decide not to take over the rest of it, so they just push along the Mediterranean coast until they eventually reach Egypt, where they decide to stop. With much of the Blue Team Navy not focused in the Mediterranean, the Red Team is able to very well fend off a bunch of, is able to halt the advance into Turkey. Actually, they take over thrice, but that's it. They are unable to go into Cyprus and Turkey and Egypt, and eventually the whole Mediterranean. However, the Red Team Navy is able to capture Japan. That is not looking good for the Blue Team. So they act quick. They immediately launch a mega invasion into all of Eastern Europe, quickly take it over. Using all of the remaining navy, they push into the entire country of Egypt, not just the north, because it's actually populated, like, here. And they even push into Israel. Pro-Blue Team rebels in Saudi Arabia rise up, re-liberating the country, and eventually the North and South Front have met along the Turkish-Iranian border. Now, here we have basically the West versus the world, and I know it's fun. Let's start off. So, now many East Asian forces have started arriving in this area. Both sides decide not to attack over there. They could, but they don't. Russia immediately... not Russia, the Red Team wants to hold on to these Arabian territories as they realize that if they lose them, then the blue team, like, it would be hard to invade the Arabian Peninsula. What they do is, however, send African forces up north, and they quickly push across Libya, liberating the country and cutting the two blue team forces off. This leads to chaos, which causes many of the blue team forces in Egypt to attempt to move out of Egypt, which allows the country to surrender. However, by the time they get to Israel, they have regrouped. Forces from even further south in Africa then take over the rest of the continent. And just like that, Africa's completely under red team control. And now we have another thing happening, being in the west, we have, in the Arabian Peninsula, there is, let's see, in the Arabian Peninsula, red team forces push from the south, capture the UAE, Qatar, and eventually push along the Saudi coast, capturing many of the cities, and even push into Kuwait, and they don't, and they basically take Saudi Arabia. From there, a three-forced invasion from Egypt, Iran, and Saudi Arabia managed to capture the much weaker Fertile Crescent area. And now the West has been pushed out of the South and Eastern Mediterranean. Well, they still control part of the Eastern Mediterranean, but whatever. I'm using the West, just ignore it. I probably shouldn't be using the term the West, but I am. So now we have kind of a stalemate going on. Nothing's really happening. American forces are stationed in Europe. Most of them have arrived. However, East Asian forces are yet to arrive. In the next video, there will be a big battle